Hey guys, what's up? Sermo11 here, and here are my thoughts on Palworld after playing for about 40 plus hours. If you would like to hear my initial thoughts and reactions to Palworld, just check out the previous video. With that out of the way, let's get into it. I will say that I was not feeling Palworld after playing it for about 2 to 3 hours on my own. Things changed once I played it with my friends on a shared server that they had already started work on. Maybe this will be a unique experience, but I think that playing with them, people who are a little bit more aware about the game and also calling and chatting while playing it, really improved my impressions on Palworld. Now I do think that Palworld basically taking heavy inspiration from Pokemon is a big no-no. That could be its own video. Some people have taken the moral high ground and refused to play it. That's fine. I think some of the designs looking like Pokemon is bad, but that won't stop me from trying the game at least just to experience it and see what it's like. So there's a lot to this game, and I don't really want this to be a review because I'm not done with the game yet, but we'll see how this turns out. Palworld does not really have a story. My friends explain that there are lore details, but they're hidden in journals, almost like Breath of the Wild. I never liked this, just put the story front and center. You can do a story while also giving the player freedom. I don't think this is a big deal, but people like freedom in games. I don't think it's needed. I just want a path to go on. I think the monster capturing concept is always interesting and there's many stories to tell, so hopefully a story is added in the future to the game. You have some goals when you first start the game, but after that you just do whatever you want. There are no rules. I think this might be too much freedom. I get kind of bored playing this game without my friends, but that's just me. As far as the gameplay goes, the player is building a base, collecting resources, and catching pals. The base building makes collecting resources easier, and it also helps with the production of items. Basically, you're building your own little homes for yourself and the pals to make the game easier on yourself. In my original world, I was not very good at this and unsure of what exactly the game wanted. The instructions can be confusing. For example, it tells you to summon a pal, and I didn't know how to do that. On my shared server, my friend did nearly all of the work, designing a nice base and putting everything in a nice place. That made it a lot easier. I think people need to realize this is not a Pokemon game. This is nothing like Pokemon. If you got this because you thought it would be like Pokemon, then you were tricked into playing Arc. A lot of this game is base management and crafting. It makes the experience feel more involved, but making your own pal spears, armor, weapons, food, and more every time can get old fast. I also think you should be able to make a list of things you want to make, and you should be able to order things ahead of having the right material so they can be made as soon as you get them. Collecting resources is fine. I wish you could just press the button for the player to get stone, wood, and other resources, but when you're near these things, you have to hold the button. This process gets easier as you build up your base and get more pals, but things like stone and ore can easily weigh you down, making it impossible to move. They need to change that. Catching pals is probably one of the most interesting things to outside people, I'm sure. It's pretty simple. You find a pal in the wild and throw a pal spear at it, or you might have to attack it first and then throw your pal spear. There is a percentage on how the catch will go, which is awesome. You can also catch pals that are high level and the game scales them down in battles and when you're taking them with you. There is more to this game, like breeding. I heard that evolution is not a thing in this game. That's kind of a bummer. That's a big part of Pokemon that I like. Also, since there's no evolution, there's a really cool thing where all the pals feel unique so far. Think about it. If you catch a Pichu, that's 3 Pokemon in one. If you catch a pal, that's 1 pal, and you still have others to go. By having no evolutions, it feels like there's more pals. So far, there's 111 pals, and I hope they add more because the map in the game is huge. I'm starting to see repeating pals, which is fine. Before a game of this size, I think 200 pals would be the minimum. Battling isn't a huge part of the game. Pals can be sent out, some attack automatically, and some have to be told to do so. You can't pick which attacks they do. I think adding more option here would be good. Maybe automatic battles and ones where you pick attacks. You can pick attacks from the rideable pals, but that's not exactly what I'm looking for. Your human is also part of the battle, so the player having weapons and armor is very important, and maybe even more important than the pal. There's a few more things I want to cover, but they're small things. I like that all your pals can go in the water. I like that you can ride a variety of the pals. I do think that the rideable land pals need to be made faster, but the flying ones really open up the game. The game has a skill tree of sorts where you can unlock new things with points, and it's really long. You know how guns are a big part of the game in the marketing materials? Those aren't until later in the game. The game has eggs which you can find, which are awesome. You can find pals that you might not see until later in the game early by hatching eggs. I do wish some pals were locked to certain methods, like you can only find them in random eggs or something of the sort. Moving on to my complaints, I do have a few complaints about the game. The map on Xbox at least goes crazy when you use the control stick. The cursor moves all over the place. This has not been fixed. Imagine you're trying to go somewhere and the cursor won't go where you want it to. I also wish you could mark places on the map and have a big light in the sky like Fortnite does. I do like that anything I mark will tell me the distance away from it though. Teleporting is something that can be done in the game with bases and the game's travel points scattered across the map. Teleporting to locations was cool at first, but I'd like a way to teleport from anywhere. It becomes a little annoying if I'm way away from my base and have to walk or fly there. There's ways around it, but I feel like I'm cheating in a way by doing them. The game turns dark at nighttime in the game and I'm not a fan. It gets way too dark, and even with using a pal to light up the area around me, it's still too dark. Locating friends is a pain. It's just not obvious enough when they're nearby. The game has crashed on me many times and it can be laggy, especially when too much is going on, but this is an early access game and I'm supposedly playing on an old system. I think this video came off as a review, so we'll see how I title it. Overall, I have enjoyed my time with Palworld so far, but as I said before, this is only because I played with friends. I was bored without them. Take that however you will. Maybe you'll like it on your own. I think they need a story to keep players like me engaged. A story mode would definitely make me happy. I will say the world is fun to explore and huge with cool things like dungeons and boss battles. All of the dungeons look the same so far, so that needs a change. It was fun catching or hatching a new pal and surprising my friends with it. I like that we all had unique pals. I tried not to compare the game too much to Pokemon in this review, but I think that how can you not? It has extremely similar designs and people are relating it to Pokemon when it's actually more like Arc. I think as someone who is a big Pokemon fan, this game reminds me of Legends Arceus the most, where the player is out in the wild and Pokemon can attack them. I think this game takes the crafting a bit too far in a way that I personally don't want to do, but I'd still have to say that it's a good game and I liked it. I still like Pokemon more for its characters and writing, but as far as open worlds go, I think something like Palworld is a step in the right direction. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you like my content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and like me on Facebook. The links are below. I'm Surma11. See you next time, and peace out. Sorry guys, I am back for one more thing. I wanted to say that another feature that I would like to see in the game is the ability to name your pals. Apparently this is a feature on the PC version, but it is not a feature on the Xbox version for some reason. And if you're playing on a multiplayer server, this becomes a big issue because you can assign pals to work, but everyone has access to those pals, so your friend could have access to your pal or something like that. There was another thing I wanted to bring up, but I cannot remember it and I cannot find a note on it, so I will leave you with that. Enjoy.